and traditions of the British communities that first settled them centuries ago. The names of half of the original American states refer to members of the British royal family.
A remark from Donald Trump about Queen Camilla has suddenly ignited a storm of reactions across the globe, leaving audiences stunned and debating every word. Known for his unfiltered style, Trump's comments are raising questions about diplomacy, respect, and the delicate balance between politics and royalty. As the clip circulates and interpretations clash, the story is quickly evolving into something far bigger than a single statement. What exactly did he say? And why is it causing such a powerful reaction across continents? But do you think Donald Trump was really praising Queen Camilla? Or was there something deeper behind his words? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Text wrapping break. To help us create more videos and uncover more stories like this, please subscribe. The comment that raised eyebrows. It only took a few carefully chosen words to completely change the feeling in the room that night. The atmosphere, which had been calm and formal just moments before, suddenly felt different in a way that people could not ignore. As Donald Trump spoke about Queen Camilla, he referred to her as a very, very special queen, and that simple phrase immediately drew attention from everyone present. At first, it sounded like a polite and expected compliment, the kind often heard at formal gatherings where respect and diplomacy guide every statement. However, the way he delivered the words made them stand out. His voice slowed down slightly, and each word felt carefully placed, as if he was thinking deeply about what he wanted to communicate before saying it out loud. That small change in tone did not go unnoticed. People in the room began to shift their focus more sharply toward him, even if they had not been fully paying attention before. It was no longer just background speech during an event. Instead, it became something that felt more meaningful, almost as if it carried a hidden message or deeper intention behind it. Around the room, subtle reactions began to appear. Some guests exchanged quick, quiet glances with one another, trying to interpret the meaning behind the phrasing. Others stayed still, watching closely, sensing that this was one of those unexpected moments where something ordinary suddenly feels important without a clear reason why. Even though the event continued as planned, the mood had clearly changed. Conversations became softer, and attention naturally drifted toward the moment that had just passed. It was not dramatic or loud, but it created a sense of curiosity that quietly spread among those present. People were now more alert, more focused, and more aware of every detail. Long after the words were spoken, they continued to linger in people's minds. The simplicity of the phrase contrasted with the weight it seemed to carry, making it difficult to forget. In moments like this, it is often not the message alone that matters, but the way it is delivered and the feeling it leaves behind. By the end of the night, what remained was not just a compliment about a queen, but the memory of a moment where tone, timing, and attention combined to shift the energy of an entire room. The most powerful president in the world, Donald Trump, referred to Queen Camilla using just a few carefully chosen words that left many people questioning their deeper meaning. But did he truly mean exactly what he said? Or could there be a hidden message behind those words? And how do they connect to the moment that brought them together? Let's find out. White House royal attention shift. This was not just another ordinary speech. The setting itself carried a strong sense of importance, with power, history, and global attention all blending into one moment. Inside the White House, every detail of the occasion felt carefully arranged, as King Charles III stood proudly beside Queen Camilla, representing centuries of royal tradition in a modern world. Moments like this are never casual. They are closely watched by leaders, media, and the public across the world. Nothing is ignored. Every small gesture is noticed, and every single word spoken is measured in meaning. Even a simple smile or pause can be studied and discussed later, as if it holds a deeper message behind it. Queen Camilla herself is not someone who goes unnoticed in these settings. From the beginning of her journey into the royal family, she has often been the center of public discussion. People have shared different opinions about her role, her place, and her influence. Because of this, her presence in any major event naturally draws attention, whether positive or critical. That is why, when Donald Trump spoke about her during the event, the moment stood out in a quiet but powerful way. His words were not just seen as a polite comment or a normal form of respect. Instead, people in the room and those watching elsewhere began to listen more carefully, trying to understand if there was something deeper behind the tone and timing of his statement. He described her warmly and respectfully, but in a setting like this, even simple praise can feel loaded with meaning. The atmosphere of the White House event made everything feel more significant than usual. It was not just about what was said, but why it was said, and how it might be interpreted later. As a result, the moment quickly moved beyond a casual compliment. People started asking silent questions in their minds. Was it simply respect, or was there a hidden message behind it? Was it a diplomatic gesture, or something meant to signal a larger meaning between leaders and institutions? In that brief exchange, attention shifted. The focus was no longer only on the event itself, but on the relationship between words, intention, and perception. And that is what made the moment linger long after the speech had moved on. Donald Trump's words about Queen Camilla could not be ignored, especially considering her history within the royal family. But why did his remarks about Camilla carry so much weight at the event? Why were his comments about King Charles seen as clear praise, while those directed at his wife sparked debate and interpretation? Let's uncover the intriguing details. A perfect night with subtle tension. This was not just another ordinary speech. The setting itself carried a strong sense of importance, with power, history, and global attention all blending into one moment. Inside the White House, every detail of the occasion felt carefully arranged, as King Charles III stood proudly beside Queen Camilla, representing centuries of royal tradition in a modern world throughout the evening. But as the evening continued, small details began to stand out in ways that were not immediately clear. Trump praised the king with ease, even adding light humor that made a few people smile. The crowd responded politely, and everything still seemed under control. Yet beneath that surface calm, there was a slight change in attention, almost like people were listening a little more carefully than before, without fully realizing it in the room itself at times. And then, the presence of Queen Camilla added another layer to the moment. She was not simply standing beside the king. She was being observed closely by many who had long followed her public journey. Over time, she has become a figure of strong opinions, both supportive and critical. Because of this, even quiet moments involving her tend to attract attention, making it hard for her role to ever feel unnoticed in such gatherings on occasions like this. So, when Trump spoke about her directly, the reaction in the room subtly changed. His words sounded like a compliment, but the tone and timing made people listen more closely than expected. It was not loud or dramatic, yet it carried a sense of importance that people could not easily ignore. In moments like this, even simple praise can feel layered with meaning, causing listeners to quietly search for something deeper behind it than they first realized fully. And because of that, the evening began to feel slightly different for those paying attention. Nothing had changed in an obvious way, but perception itself had shifted. What started as a smooth and controlled event now carried a quiet sense of curiosity. People were no longer just hearing words, they were trying to understand them. And in that gentle shift, the atmosphere became more thoughtful, as if every detail suddenly mattered a little more than before, entirely even. Donald Trump praised King Charles III with humor, making his meaning clear. But does that make his plain compliment to Queen Camilla feel different? Could the tone or delivery have sparked debate and mixed reactions? And does her royal history still shape how people see her today? Now, let's unravel why Camilla made this moment stand out. Camilla's complex royal perception. Queen Camilla has never been seen as a simple or easy public figure. From the very beginning, her name has been closely followed, often discussed, and sometimes strongly debated. Unlike many royal figures who are accepted without much public tension, her journey into the royal family came with long years of attention, criticism, and changing opinions from people around the world. Her path was not smooth or quiet. It was shaped by constant media focus and public discussion, where every step she took was carefully watched and often questioned. Over time, she gradually built her role within the royal family and earned strong acceptance of official duties. However, even with that growth, public perception of her has never been completely simple. Some people support her, Others remain unsure, and many still hold mixed feelings shaped by history and personal views. This is exactly what made Donald Trump's words about her stand out so strongly during the White House event. In a room already filled with powerful figures and global attention, even a small comment carried extra weight. When someone like Trump speaks in such a setting, people rarely assume it is just casual speech. Every sentence is noticed, studied, and remembered in different ways. That is why his description of Queen Camilla as a very, very special queen immediately drew attention. It was not only the words themselves, but how they were delivered. His tone, his pauses, and the way he carefully shaped the phrase made people listen more closely than they might have expected. It created a moment where even a simple compliment felt like it had a deeper meaning behind it. In situations like this, nothing is ever taken at face value. People begin to look beyond the surface, trying to understand intention, timing, and the possible message. A pause can feel meaningful. A choice of words can feel deliberate. Even a smile or a change in tone can become part of the interpretation. So instead of being seen as just a polite remark, the moment became something more layered. It invited questions, quiet reflection, and discussion. And once that happens in such a high-profile setting, the impact of the words often lasts far longer than the moment itself. People might not have read deeper meaning into Donald Trump's remarks about Queen Camilla if not for her complex past within the royal family. But how did her journey into royal life unfold? And could Trump's words be connected to that history? Now, let's dive into the past that still shapes how people see Camilla today. Camilla's controversial royal journey. To really understand why this single moment attracted so much attention, it is important to look back at the history behind it. Queen Camilla's journey into royal life was never simple or smooth. From the very beginning, her name was surrounded by public debate, strong opinions, and emotional reactions that lasted for many years. She did not enter her role quietly or without resistance, but under constant public observation and discussion. Her long relationship with King Charles III became one of the most talked about parts of modern royal history. It was especially intense during the period connected to Princess Diana, a time that still remains sensitive for many people. Because of that connection, Camilla was often placed at the center of public disagreement, with some people questioning her place and others defending her role. This created a deep divide in how she was viewed by the public. At one stage, she was widely criticized and seen by many as someone outside the traditional image of the royal family. She was not fully embraced, and every public appearance seemed to come with added pressure and judgment. For years, she carried that weight while continuing to appear in public and support royal duties quietly and steadily. However, over time, things slowly began to change. Through consistent public work, patience, and a calm presence, her image started to shift. She did not force acceptance, but allowed time and action to speak for her. Gradually, more people began to recognize her role, and she eventually became accepted as Queen Consort beside King Charles III. Even so, the past has never completely disappeared. Public memory is long, and old opinions do not fade easily. For many people, her story still carries layers of history that influence how they react to her today, even in simple moments or casual mentions. That is why even a few carefully chosen words about her can feel so significant, especially in a setting as important and highly watched as the White House. Nothing is ever just casual. Every phrase is noticed, every tone is studied, and every compliment is weighed for possible meaning. So when her name is spoken in such environments, it is never just about the present moment. It carries the weight of the past, the attention of the present, and the curiosity of what it might suggest about the future. Donald Trump's remarks about Queen Camilla might have seemed like a simple compliment, but her controversial history made people read deeper meaning into his words. But was there an action from Trump at the same event that seemed to contradict his statement? And did that moment carry more weight than what he actually said? Now, let's uncover the very clip that changed everything. Camilla arrival footage debate. Then came the moment that truly pulled public attention and sparked discussion far beyond the event itself. Footage from the royal arrival began circulating online within minutes, showing Donald Trump stepping slightly ahead of Queen Camilla as she greeted guests. It was a brief moment, lasting only a few seconds. Yet in the world of public perception, even seconds can quickly grow into something much larger once they are replayed and analyzed. Almost immediately, reactions began to spread. Some people saw it as nothing important, just a natural movement in a busy formal setting where guests, officials, and security are all moving at once. In their view, it was simply a small moment that did not carry a deeper meaning. However, others saw it differently. They felt it did not match expected royal etiquette and began to question whether it was respectful or not, especially given the formal nature of the occasion. What made the situation even more interesting was the contrast that followed. At the same event where that brief moment was being discussed, Donald Trump also spoke in a very positive way about Queen Camilla and King Charles III. He referred to them as really great people, a phrase that carried warmth and approval. His tone during those remarks was calm and respectful, adding another layer to how people interpreted the entire event. As if that was not enough to deepen public interest, he also made a symbolic decision that caught attention. He announced the removal of tariffs on Scottish whiskey in honor of the royal couple. To some, this was seen as a friendly diplomatic gesture, linking culture, tradition, and respect in a meaningful way. To others, it added even more complexity to how the event should be understood. This is where the confusion and curiosity began to grow. People were now left with two very different impressions from the same occasion. On one hand, there was a short video clip that raised questions and sparked debate. On the other hand, there were warm words and positive gestures that suggested respect and admiration. The contrast between what people saw and what they heard created a deeper sense of uncertainty. It encouraged discussion, interpretation, and even disagreement, as viewers tried to decide what the moment truly meant beneath the surface. The footage of Donald Trump crossing the path of Queen Camilla, whom he described as very, very special, could not be ignored. But was his action simply a mistake, or did it reveal something more genuine than his carefully chosen words? Now let's explore a mixed message that sparked debate. Words versus actions debate. That contrast is exactly what kept people talking long after the event had ended. It created a kind of confusion that did not go away easily because people were trying to fit two different versions of the same moment into one clear story. On one side, there was a short video clip that looked awkward or unusual to some viewers. On the other side, there were polite words, warm praise, and respectful comments that painted a very different picture. This is where the debate began. Was the moment in the video just a simple mistake, something that happened naturally in a busy, formal environment where people are constantly moving and adjusting their positions? Or was it something that revealed a more honest, unplanned side of the situation that no scripted speech could fully hide? These questions started to spread as people rewatched the footage and tried to make sense of it. What made the situation even more interesting is the way Donald Trump often speaks and behaves in public settings. He is known for using direct language, strong statements, and sometimes unpredictable expressions that can be understood in more than one way. Because of this, his words are often open to interpretation, meaning different people can hear the same sentence and come away with different ideas about what it truly means. So when people noticed that his actions in the video did not fully match the warm tone of his words, it naturally raised curiosity. It was not necessarily seen as something dramatic, but rather something that invited questions. In moments like this, people do not simply accept what they see or hear at face value. Instead, they start to compare, analyze, and connect details that might normally be overlooked. As a result, the conversation did not end when the event ended. It continued online, in discussions, and in personal opinions. Some focused on the video itself, while others focused on his spoken praise. The difference between the two created space for interpretation, and that space is often where public debate grows the most. In the end, it was not just about one moment or one sentence. It was about how actions and words sometimes do not fully align, and how that gap encourages people to look deeper, ask questions, and search for meaning beyond what is immediately visible. The actions of Donald Trump did not fully align with his words, but as a democratic and diplomatic leader, could his behavior be influenced by the long-standing relationship between his country and that of Queen Camilla? And what history connects both nations so deeply? Now, let's uncover the bigger story behind this moment. US to UK historic diplomatic weight. Beyond this single event, the moment becomes part of something much bigger than one speech or one meeting. It sits inside a long and complicated relationship between two powerful nations, the United States and the United Kingdom. These two countries are closely connected today, but their shared history is filled with both unity and conflict, agreement and disagreement, distance and cooperation. It all goes back hundreds of years, starting with the American Revolution, when the United States broke away from British rule to become an independent nation. That moment shaped the identity of both countries in deep ways. Since then, their relationship has changed many times, moving from separation to rivalry, and later into a strong partnership built on shared interests, trade, defense, and global influence. They work together on important global issues, share diplomatic ties, and often support each other in political and economic matters. But even with this strong alliance, the weight of history is never completely forgotten. It quietly sits behind every handshake, every speech, and every official visit between leaders. That is why moments like the one involving Donald Trump, King Charles III, and Queen Camilla can feel more important than they appear on the surface. In a simple setting, a comment, a gesture, or even a brief exchange might seem ordinary. But when it happens between two nations with such a deeply shared past, it naturally attracts more attention and carries greater meaning. Every detail is often seen as part of a bigger picture. A single word can be discussed. A tone can be analyzed. A short interaction can be replayed and interpreted in many different ways. People do this not just because of curiosity, but because history teaches them that even small actions between these two countries can sometimes carry symbolic meaning. So, what might look like a normal moment at an event can actually feel much larger when viewed through the lens of history and diplomacy. It is not just about the people in the room. It is about everything that came before them, and everything that continues to shape their relationship today. In this way, even the smallest moments do not stand alone. They become part of a long, ongoing story between two nations that are deeply connected, carefully watched, and always understood in the context of their shared past. Beyond the long and complex history shared by the United States and the United Kingdom, which has shaped their alliance, what did Donald Trump really mean when he spoke about Queen Camilla? And do his words truly define the significance of the event that brought them together? Let's find out. The question that still lingers. By the end of the night, everything slowly returned to what looked like normal. The event's formal energy softened, and people returned to polite smiles, light conversation, and calm movements as the occasion came to a close. From the outside, it seemed like nothing unusual had happened at all. The gathering ended on a positive note, with handshakes, final remarks, and the kind of well-mannered atmosphere expected at such a high-level meeting. Yet, even as the room settled and guests began to leave, one question quietly stayed behind in people's minds. It did not fade with the music or disappear with the closing words. Instead, it lingered, repeating itself in different forms, depending on who was thinking about it. What did Donald Trump really mean when he spoke about Queen Camilla? For some, it was simply a polite statement made during a formal occasion, nothing more than respectful language used in a diplomatic setting. But for others, the tone, timing, and surrounding moments made it feel like there could be something more behind it. Not something dramatic or openly revealed, but something subtle, something left unsaid that still felt present. This is often how moments like these work in public life. The most powerful parts are not always the loudest or most obvious ones. They are the quiet details that sit between words, the pauses that come before a sentence, or the small expressions that do not fully match what is being said. These are the things that people notice even when they are not sure why. And that's exactly why this moment has been so hard to move past. It didn't give a clear answer or point in one direction. Instead, it left just enough uncertainty to make people wonder. And when something feels slightly unclear, it naturally pulls attention back to it. People keep thinking about it, replaying it in their minds, trying to understand what really happened and what it truly meant beneath the surface. That's why, even after the event ended, the conversation didn't stop. Across social media and private discussions, people kept replaying the moment, studying Donald Trump's words about Queen Camilla, and questioning what they really meant. Some saw nothing unusual, while others felt there was something deeper hidden beneath the surface. In the end, it wasn't just about what Donald Trump said on stage. It was about what he didn't say. That quiet gap left people thinking, questioning, and replaying the moment long after it ended, proving that sometimes silence can leave a stronger, more lasting impression than words ever could. So, what do you think about Donald Trump's remark on Queen Camilla? Could it carry a deeper meaning than it appeared? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.